There are a lot of YouTubers who suggest that you can make even 10,000 in a day from video editing. The problem though is that these guys might be able to do it, but it's happening only for a day. Is it sustaining for a long term? Is it something that you can continue for over a month and actually get all those numbers in real? That's something that's slightly tricky to realize. Now the thing is, if you're trying to create a video editing pipeline, I have seen a good number would have been somewhere around 1.2 to 1.5 lakhs per month. That is if everything is great, you have a nice portfolio, you have a huge list of B2B clients that are going to pay you that much regularly, and your value propositions are actually tremendously creative and they really hit the mark what the clients are looking for. Now getting there is slightly tricky. The problem here is that you as a video editor might not be able to sustain this 10,000 rupees a day for a long time. Now in this video, what I'm going to be doing is giving you a slight walkthrough of what you can keep in mind when you're trying to get to that level. Now what I'm going to be doing in this video is take some time and discuss with you about the strategy that you can keep in mind when you're thinking of doing that number in a month. So let's get started. I have been speaking about this in the previous set of videos that you need to have your own portfolio. Well, that's the basic thing that you can ask for when you're starting off creating a freelancing profile, whether it's graphic designing or whether it's video editing or whether it's UI UX design or even if it's dancing, right? You need to showcase your skills at every point in time. So get your portfolio right. That's number one. Second is clean out your niche. I was talking about graphic design or video editing or dancing. Now, even in dancing, you can go slightly more deeper. You can think of hip hop, or you can think of R&B, you can think of Kathakali, or you can think of more classical art forms. Every dancer that you might have seen has a particular style. Of course, they would be able to transition from one to another, and that's something that comes over time and with experience. But that's what you need to build for yourself as well. So, if you're starting to do freelance for video editing, you need to define what in video editing. Whether it's long form video editing for YouTube or whether it's short form Instagram reels that you're going to be creating, you need to lock in those pieces as well. So number two is focus your niche. Number three, we're going to be talking about pricing in slight detail, but that's something that you need to keep in mind from very early on. You need to understand that how can you price? Well, the best way to do pricing is to do a project based pricing instead of an hourly rate that a lot of people might suggest. Of course, there might be a lot of inputs that might come in, but that's something that you need to stick up. Of course, there are chances where a project might take a lot longer than you initially expected, but that's what your perseverance and grit will get you. You need to be sure that the clients love the output that you produce. And that is why you will be able to get a newer return on or a newer project. So that basically means that instead of charging a flat, let's say 500 rupees per hour, you can select a number which is for the entire project. Now, if you are smart enough, you might be able to use AI and you might be able to use multiple tools which will get you the return faster and quicker and will save you a lot of time. But that would mean that that project is something that the client will pay for and will be excited to see at the end of the collaboration. And lastly, number 4 is outreach. You will not be able to maintain a client list by doing once in a while outreach once your projects are finished. You need to do this outreach on a very regular basis. So whatever project you might be working on and how much ever time you have to spend on that project, make sure that you spend probably 15 to 20 minutes on a daily basis. If not that, probably an hour on every second or every third day so that you can do a lot of outreach. If you don't do outreach for the next project today, you will not have when this project gets over and you will end up struggling for a while and you will not have that consistent returns. Now the next thing is, how do you sustain this for a long term? You need to make sure that this is continuing, right? You don't want 10,000 in a day, you want 1.5 lakhs at the end of the month. So the way to do this is figure out a couple of other techniques that you need to keep in mind. Number 1 could be just a basic outreach, which is just trying to get someone to know you. Then you have a slightly more advanced or nuanced one where you tell them that this is something that you have already done and they might get some nice returns from it. Number 3 is slightly more advanced version where you start giving them certain pieces so that they can return back to you if they had not returned all this while. So those are 3 major levels of outreach that you can keep in mind. Now the second thing is you need to keep a niche when you're doing all of these things together. We've already set niche in the previous one, but even when you're doing an outreach, you need to make sure that you tell them that this is a platform that they exist on and what your contribution has been in that area. So if you've been creating YouTube videos which are long form and have been specifically for, let's say, an edtech platform, you should be able to demonstrate that in the outreach that you do. If you don't do a niche specific piece, and I'm not talking just about the kind of work that you're doing, you can also do this for the kind of platform that you're going to be working on as well. So for instance, the amount of SEO which goes on YouTube is far more than compared to Instagram or LinkedIn. So in those cases, you can understand way more nitty-gritty details about a platform, and you can tell these guys, your prospects, that you have a lot of experience in this particular platform and you will be able to derive these things for them. Now the next thing is, when you're proposing all of these things to them, again, don't do this as a one-off project. What you need to do is you need to have a recurring system of payments, right? So you need to have a structure of content that you'll also be creating for them. Something like a regular content plan. Now, what does regular content plan mean? It means that every third day you might deliver certain piece of content, which is a video. Probably every 7th day you might have one community post that can go on YouTube or probably on a different platform that they might have. You can also add in certain bits and pieces of, let's say, stories. You can say that every video that you edit for about 5 minutes, you will be able to take out a 30-second clip that can probably go in YouTube Shorts, or it can go on LinkedIn videos, or it can go as Reels on Instagram. What you need to do is figure out a regular content plan, which basically means that client's content will be reused again and again, and they will have a higher discoverability. Now, this also means that you promise them that over a period of time, these will be your deliverables. You don't have one deliverable at one point in time, which is probably like the end of the month, where you say you will give them a dump of 15 videos that they can post on different platforms, but rather you should tell them that every week you intend to drop in, let's say, 1 video for YouTube and 3 shorts, probably a couple of thumbnails over here and there as well. So that is basically how you keep them on the hook. And what you did not probably notice over here is that you have been upselling your pieces. You moved on from just providing them long form content to also short form pieces such as shorts and reels and even thumbnails. What you're trying to do over here is to give out a couple of other services that might come in the same ecosystem. You might even be able to provide support for managing their social media pages, which could again probably be on a retainer, or you can figure out that every time that you post a video, you will charge about 500 rupees per posting, including that you're adding the SEO content, you're adding multiple links, you're adding the phone numbers and the contact details if those are necessary. So what this all means is that in multiple of these cases, you're trying to give them slight additional pieces apart from your core offering. When that happens, customers tend to get more excited about your offerings compared to anybody else who's probably providing just a basic video editing service. Now, let's say everything done and dusted, you need to understand how much do you want to charge for every particular video. How do we do that? Let's take an idea that you're expecting to earn about 1.2 lakhs per month. Okay. Now, if I do that, and let's say we spend about 10% or 10 days in the entire month on finding clients. So that gives us about 20 remaining days. In 20 days, and I need to earn 1.2 lakhs, what should my per day calculation would be? Be about 6,000 rupees. Right? So this is the number that you're chasing for this particular type of video. Well, so this number is what you're chasing for this type of income. Now, let's take an idea of how can you charge specific video points. Now, if we are going for duration, long form could be somewhere around 3 to 10 minutes, and short form could be somewhere between 90 to let's say 90 seconds to about 4 minutes. There is some sort of an overlap, you can live with that. You can charge or you can figure out the charge that is going to be basis on these two different factors. Long form and short form will have almost an equivalent amount of charge, because the amount of work that goes in a short form, and if it's more on motion graphics, then you might not have that much to do in long form. So that's one thing that you can keep in mind. Second is B2B versus B2C. Now, from a B2B side, the charges are going to be slightly higher. Think of it this way, that every business does not want to keep on changing the clients that it works with. The processes are supposed to be simple, and there has to be some sort of a consistency in all the content that is created. So that's why B2B gives slightly higher numbers than a B2C client. So let's keep this one down. And lastly, you can depend on the kind of edit that you're doing. So whether it's a podcast style video, your investment in terms of motion graphics or any type of animation will be very low. So that's why podcast is low. But at the same time, if you're doing motion graphics, that is what is going to be slightly more expensive. So keeping these things in mind, let's create a simple idea. So let's say if I have a short form video for a B2B client, and this has to have a lot of motion graphics. Now, assuming that this is for about 60 seconds, let's keep it very minimal. This you can charge somewhere between 3 to 5,000. Let's change this, and let's say if instead of B2B and motion graphics, you're probably doing a podcast style content. So what you probably have to do is short form plus B2C plus podcast. Now for this one, let's say you're creating this again a reel of about 60 to 90 seconds. You can charge somewhere around 1500 to 2500 rupees per piece. Right? So you can get the idea of what are the things that will take you higher or lower. So this is one mechanism of understanding how much can you charge per video. Think of it this way, that you need to end up having about 6,000 rupees in your kitty per video that you're completing on a daily basis. That is what is going to get you about 1.2 lakhs in the entire month. Well, I hope that I was able to give you a certain idea of what you should be able to charge your clients and how you should probably figure out your services. If you like this content, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. If there's anything that you want me to talk about more, put it out in the comments and I will create another video on that one soon. Alright, I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.